Step 4. Everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. My name is Bradley Ball. We are back and better than ever, and it is so good to have you with us. On Tuesday, we had Vicky Hart, Principal Group Program Manager from the Windows Developer Experiences team on our show. We talked about building a brand, getting past the buzzwords, and identifying tangible advice based on your career and your stage in your career. Who hosted? Who won? Who knows? We know. But if you want to find out, you're going to have to go over to YouTube and check out our previous episodes. You don't want to miss a minute of those. If this is the first time you're finding us, please head over to our channel, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We want to interact with you. We love it when we get to interact with folks and drive the conversation. And it is so easy to do that. In order to interact with the show, just go comment on one of our streams. Where are we streaming, you might ask? We're on Twitter at Tales from the Field. Josh Ludeman, Neeraj Jhaveri, Sequel Balls. We're over on LinkedIn for Sequel Balls, and we are streaming at the Tales from the Field Home Command Center on YouTube itself. Please come and join us. We would love to hear from you. So speaking of that, if you comment on any one of those locations, one of my amazing co-hosts will see it and they will add it to the show and you will be a part of the experience. And speaking of those amazing co-hosts, let me give those introductions. I am joined by Josh Ludeman, Andreas Padilla, and a man who is more mysterious than a billionaire with a bad obsession, but twice as handsome, your friend and mine, Neeraj Jhaveri.
Good stuff.
Andreas, we dropped our MS Tech Bits, Azure SQL Managed Instance, general purpose, how to make it go faster. Everybody likes to go fast, my friend. What do you think?
I love it. You guys, those drops are awesome. They're short little bites. I get the feeling after I go to the dentist and I get my teeth cleaned. I feel refreshed. And I went to the dentist this week and I got my teeth cleaned and I feel refreshed. It's that good.
Well, at least it wasn't the feeling you get after a root canal.
No. It's after a good.
I was curious where you were going. A little nervous. I was like, okay.
I was a little curious as well. I'm right there with you. I was going, is this a nitrous thing? Because I try to put a little humor.
I actually enjoy that one more.
No, I agree. It's I was going to say my favorite part of the dentist. I mean, I ask for it whenever I go in and they're like, sir, we're just, giving you a toothbrush.
So this is just a consultation.
Exactly.
We don't give you any gas.
We're not sure if we watch you back. That's fair. I would never want to be a part of something that would have me.
Medical record tag, drug seeker. Continued.
I don't know that that's quite the label I'm going for. But oh, it's Thursday. We are almost to the weekend. So it is time for the roundtable and that wonderful, awesome content that is driven by you, the community. So let's head over to it and get straight at it. First up, I have Neeraj Jhaveri. Neeraj, you have the importance of personal branding to your career growth, plus 12 tips for branding success. And this is by, I'm missing the name, Jessica Hernandez.
Jessica Hernandez, yeah. So this, sticking to the theme of this week, where Vicky went over how to make the personal brand and what is important, right? I mean, what is a personal brand that you're trying to build up it? And then I found this great article where the author goes over how to make it, what is it, the why factor of it, why do you need to have a personal brand? Be a thought leader, learn and grow, be proactive, and access yourself. A lot of 12 different tips that she's trying to help us out to make a personal brand. I mean, I know a lot of people who do not have that, and they should be thinking about building a personal brand. I mean, if you have a personal brand, in future, it's going to help you out to land a job or anything, right? I mean, that is something that you are going to be always recognized as. So something that you should look at it. And also she gives you the do nots, right? I mean, that is very important, right? I mean, when you are on social medias, you have to be very careful what you post and what you don't post, because that affects your future also. So,
well, and I love this. Don't be stagnant. Keep it positive. Culture and fit is king. People want to hire employees with a great attitude and terrific character. And you're absolutely right. I think, Andreas, you may have said it yesterday, but be authentic, right?
Yes.
If you portray yourself as something you're not, when you go to that interview, it's going to fall flat. So it is best to be exactly who you are. So that way there's no surprises, especially when you're building that brand.
And the second thing is like now it's not just your resume or your experience, right? I mean, what companies look at is your social media presence and all of them, right? I mean, I have seen where the recruiters would go on your LinkedIn profile and say, "Oh, it's a boring profile." That's something that's not going to help you out to build your brand. So definitely something that you can always build it up.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Let's see. Next up. Well, it's me. And I have the Data Chicks Secure Your Azure SQL Data. I love how I just managed to surprise myself, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like you have a script in front of you to tell you either. I mean,
Yeah.
you
know, right?
genuinely, surprised yourself. I'm proud.
Well,
of you.
with my computer nowadays, you never know. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm not even here. The
We need to
matrix
start
is
adding
crashing.
gifts to the. This is the second time I thought was a great opportunity for a GIF. That one would be a good one for the magic guy GIF. Talking
Yeah.
about your machine. But every time you start the round table and you say, "All right, it's time to go to the round table," all I think of SpongeBob saying, "Bring it around town." Sorry.
Oh,
Continue.
there we go. I like it. At the very least, we should get some type of magic chime music or something like that, so we can,
Yes.
play that. That way, we all have access to it, and whenever somebody does something magical, we can hit the chime. Okay, that is
I'm
my
just gonna
mission
go
for
like
next.
this from now on.
I will have a chime sound effect for us. That is my commitment to all of you. All right, so back to this. This is our good friend Karen Lopez, who we had talking about travel stories. So this is Data Check Secure Your Azure Data Challenge. There are additional details. I need to sign into it though, and of course I'm on a browser that I don't normally sign into. You can join the challenge. You have 28 days to join this challenge. Karen Lopez is active on Twitter talking about this, so I would encourage you to go out there and participate in this. I love it that she's doing this. She's of course a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. She has teamed up with our Learn team to be able to get this in front of people. It's fantastic stuff. So go take the security challenge for your Azure SQL databases if you're running any out there, or if you've got a developer account and you want to go learn. This is a great one. Go spin up a VentureWorks. Make sure that you've got your database secured.
Interesting.
Love it.
So, SpongeBob rocks. Talk about a brand. I know. Yeah, I can't do a SpongeBob impression. Can anybody got that in their repertoire? No.
Nah.
Okay. Yeah. The best not to even try. Best not to even try. So Andreas, I've got you up next. How to fix streaming lag. 5 reasons that you're lagging.
Oh, I got this plays it well into, building your brand. Most of us, you're going to drop a video, you're going to create some streaming content, you're going to interview someone, you're going to put out a demo. The guys from Live Streaming Tech, they put out 5 good reasons why you may see your video lagging, some staggering in your video when you're recording. And then golden rule number 1, never use Wi-Fi. Always use a cable directly. If you're recording, if you're doing anything, live streaming, you could get on your phone, but if you're not on your phone or your laptop, golden rule is you drop a cable. And then they have some other good tidbits in there about, how resolution can actually add some lag, running too many resources, certain things that are streaming in the background. 5 quick items that you can do to make your experience and your recordings, anything that you're putting, if you're twitching, tweeting, LinkedIning, YouTubing like we are, this is what you want.
Maybe for Brad to look at it, right?
I think this is for Brad.
Yeah, I'll make sure to remember that down. That sounds like good stuff. I don't know that I can throw any more CPUs at this. This is everything that was commercially available on the market at the time that I could purchase it. So, I don't think the CPU is my issue. I think my issues go well beyond the CPUs. Josh, what do you think?
He needs a server.
I have a server. I've got 24 cores and 128 gigs of RAM. I've had production servers that weren't this big. Josh, we're over to you. This is a really big one for the Azure data community. This is, of course, by Ree Merritt, who is our good friend who we have had on in the past. Ree runs the Azure data community. She is one of those folks that's very central to this as part of the SQL product group. Why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so I know traditionally we feature, technical content or content that aligns to the subject, but this was such big news in the data community itself. I wanted to bring it to the front. And that is with a revision to how the Azure data community works and how they, how organizations can enroll in the Azure data community. No longer does it require meetup. So they'll actually come to the user groups and meet them where they're at. Whereas prior, one of the requirements was you had to join Meetup to be part of the Azure data community. So that was the main thing of this, is they've removed that requirement, because I know I'd talked to some organizations, user groups and things that weren't joining because of the fact that they don't use Meetup. They didn't want to pay for Meetup, whatever their reasoning was. That was actually a barrier, and here that barrier is removed. It's just a great change to it. Also, some updated materials on getting your group started and things like that.
Nice.
Fantastic. Nice stuff. Yeah, our good buddy Dan Taylor, again, sometimes software just breaks no matter how much you throw at it.
True.
Yeah, I threw as much as I
Sometimes the
possibly
user's
could.
already broken, and it doesn't matter what the software does. It's just going to go.
Look, if it was up to Josh, I think he's fired me 5 times this week already. I wouldn't even be on the show.
No.
I mean, let's face it.
No, three, not 5, 3.
Well,
3.
So it's counting the 2 other days.
I'm counting those 2 times I heard you underneath your breath.
Oh, you heard me? Shit. Okay, yeah, that's 5.
All right. So Neeraj, you're up next. I absolutely love this article, using OpenAI and Synapse Analytics. And this is by Thomas Coasters.
So, I mean, the talk of the town is OpenAI. And then I had a customer who asking up, okay, do you know what Synapse has it? So Synapse now has OpenAI API through Azure, Synapse ML. If you are spinning up the Synapse ML, it's integrated to that REST API, and then you can do OpenAI GPT in this whole Synapse environment. Thomas goes through how to set it up and then what you can do it from the perspective of Synapse on OpenAI. And this is something like pretty new to the system. So something that I have been trying it out. I mean, I started playing around with it. Probably a video on this I might create up and send it up also.
Very nice. Very nice. This is good stuff. And that's the thing is, we hear a lot of these buzzwords, but it's important to understand, how do we actually apply them? How do we begin to utilize them? And this is a good practical step for anybody who's out there who's going, okay, I've heard this. How do I implement this?
Yep.
Yeah, and in those next level trainings, those are the ones that I get drawn to, especially for me in sessions I've delivered historically, on technologies, is when there's a new buzzword. Everybody out there is going to have an introductory session. And one of the ones that I did for a long time after big data blew up was a session that basically you went to all the sessions of, this is what big data is. And then the session was all about, here's how you actually use it, because you're not going to put a CSV file of phone sales on a Hadoop cluster and just read that one file. And so we need more of these, these articles like that one to actually go down and break through. Okay, yeah, here's the tech, here's the great idea, here's how you use it in a realistic fashion.
Absolutely. And Dan had a great comment, Ree and team, reducing barriers to entry. Absolutely. We love everything they're doing to help grow the Azure data community. I forget the number of groups that we have, but I know it's over 150 and we're in 42 different countries. I mean, just fantastic work that Ree and the team did to be able to step in when PASS went bankrupt to be able to keep our user community alive. Great stuff. So I'm up next. And I've got our good friend of the show, Buck Woody, who we've had on a few times. And this is also Marissa Matthews. You may not know Marissa, but Marissa is an essential member of the Azure SQL Data team. And they are actually doing a whole series of videos. This is the first video out. It's one of 7, learning T-SQL programming for beginning database developers. And this is completely based off of a Learn module that we actually have. So not only could you watch this video and you could see Marissa and Buck talk about this, and you've got Marissa who is learning T-SQL, and of course, Buck is an expert who's literally written code as part of the SQL Server engine. So you've got that transparency or that juxtaposition of the level of experience they have with one another, and they're walking through this course so that way they can make sure that they answer the questions you may have. And in this world where we're collecting all the different skills and we're talking about OpenAI and ChatGPT, it's really important to realize we need to have the fundamentals. We need to have those beginning skills. This is one of those key beginning skills that folks need to have. So really great stuff by Buck and Marissa. Speaking of great stuff from that team, wow, we've got so many wonderful community engagement things, and I absolutely love what you've got coming up next, Andreas. So you're up next, and we have calling REST endpoints from T-SQL on a Data Exposed MVP edition with our good friend Rob Farley from down in Australia, and of course our good friend Irish, also aka Merit, Irish SQL over on Twitter.
Oh man, this is such a great post. As many of you guys out there in the data community, I lean on my stored procedures. I love my stored procedures. One-stop shop to do it all. But what if I can call REST API endpoints within my stored procedure in Azure SQL DB? Come on. I mean, what don't you like about that? So in 7 minutes or 12 minutes? 12 minutes.
Yeah, 12 minutes and 36 seconds.
Yeah. Put that at half the speed. You'll learn how to call REST API endpoints in 6 minutes, half the speed, and start, incorporating those into your stored procedures. You can call, you can call Azure Functions. You can call app services. You can call Logic Apps. You can call Event Hubs. You can call IoT Central, or you can call external APIs as long as you wrap them within an API management service. So if you pass that API, that external API through the API management service, now you can open the door to anything you want and use a stored procedure, i.e. use a REST API call inside that stored procedure to go outside and get back some JSON. It's awesome.
Excellent. Yeah. And when we interviewed Davide Murray over at Live 360, they were announcing this, and I love seeing this implemented. It's great to see Rob taking this to the next level with a demo over on Data Exposed to be able to give users this beautiful content to be able to start implementing these things. Great stuff. So up next, I have my good friend in the hat over there, Josh Ludeman, SQL Understanding Change Data Capture for Azure SQL Part 1. Why by Mr. or Dr. Greg Lowe.
Yeah, and so one of the interesting things here in just our lineup, of articles, we went from, Rob Farley now to Greg Lowe, both of them south of the equator, so definite just incidental pairing here. But really, this is a great article of just how to use change data capture specifically on Azure SQL Database. It's the first one in a series he actually published just last week. So, he goes through the different technologies of, capturing things, whether it be replication, capturing data changes via data sync, change tracking, queues, everything. So he goes through, right now, he's just laying the groundwork of change data capture specifically with Azure SQL Database, but what are all the choices around replicating changes of data? So then he'll go through in the follow-up articles on how it works, enabling it, the objects as part of the service, and then accessing the change data capture data from another Azure SQL database. So it's going to be a great series. I just kind of wanted to bring it up to everybody and bubble it up.
Nice. I can share this out to my customers.
Bubble it up, dude.
Yeah, we got to get more sound effects. I can help you with that, Brad, and figure out where we can get them all.
I want the club horn. Ba, 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 ba. You know, just get that one for me.
Oh, but when Brad, so
Yeah.
so the other
Oh,
one
God,
we're gonna
I don't
get
know.
is
I don't
when-
know if we want that one. I don't know.
So when Brad's machine locks up, though, we are getting the sad trombone. So then when he locks up, you hear wah wah wah.
Well, and I will be honest with you, at least 3 times so far, this has actually started to lock up, but then it lagged and then everything caught up. Fortunately, it's been while y'all were talking. And so I'm thankful, but I definitely think I'm going to have to wipe and reinstall, because using the alternate browser, I think, is the only reason it didn't fully crash, the reason it got cut back up. But yeah, if I were still on the same old browser, I think that I would be, furiously pounding my desk right now as I'm trying to get back into the live show.
You can
Uh,
request for a new laptop, man. Ask
Dan saying he always,
ask the manager.
no. I look, I'm not going to get a better hardware than this.
He's been approving a lot of things lately, so that should be good.
I was going to say, so Dan says, I always pictured Andreas being more of an ORM fan, not an API person.
I thought it's ARM.
I'm
I think it's an ARM. It's a.
Did he say ARM?
no ORM.
I don't know what ORM is.
Yeah, what's ARM?
Object relational model. I don't know.
Yeah, it's basically an app dev framework that builds the database objects for you as part of the code. So yeah.
Look at the brain on Josh.
Man, way to go, Josh.
Ah,
I mean,
Oh, I know. Okay, now I know what object relational. I know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, No, I'm more an API guy.
what a ringing endorsement. Yeah.
So again, I'm gonna re-emphasize my need for GIFs and things like that, is because when we're talking about ORMs, the GIF I've used actually in IM conversations when someone was trying to champion it was the GIF of Austin Powers. I also like to live dangerously.
Josh, you'll win the next time.
Wait,
how
how did that even happen? Dan says Josh got 1,000,000 points. I think that's not how that works. Sorry, unless Dan's the host, and who knows, right? You got to go check out those previous episodes.
We have to give him his
Dan, your
tryout.
bribe is in the mail.
Oh,
hey, Karthik's here. Karthik said,
Hey,
I don't
Karthik.
I don't have that many good things to say about ORM. Takes me back to in hibernate. Yeah, I'm with you, Karthik. I've got some in hibernate nightmares that I lived through. Good to have you out there, Karthik. All right, so back over to the roundtable and the content. Neeraj, you're up next. 7 personal branding for students. 7 tips you should know.
so my daughter watched this episode with Vicky, and she's like, "Okay, so do you want me to start building my personal brand?" I'm like, "No," and she's like, "Okay," and then she brought me this article. So she's like, "When you should really start building your personal brand? When kids should be really doing it? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? On as a parent, what you should be supporting it out?" I mean, something very interesting the author has written down up here, but. I was like, do I? And then she's like, yeah, because now I'm going to be, I mean, she's in 9th grade only, and she's going to be going to college at 3 years from now. But she's like, should I start building my brand? And then that is something what the college are going to look at it as my application goes in. I'm like, no, you're too young, and we're just debating on this. And that's something I was like interested to read on this article. Very nice.
I got to tell you, for young kids, and it's an interesting thing, because you definitely want to build a brand, but at the same time, for young kids, part of the danger I always look at is the bullying online. I mean, let's face it, there's a positive side where we sit there and we work with technology. We work in a community that's very welcoming for one another. But we don't have people.
The general public isn't as nice as the data community. Sorry.
That's the reason I was like telling her no.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, surprisingly, I have heard of other technical communities where I have just heard absolute horror stories for people posting their opinions and things of that nature. I've never experienced that as part of the data community. I think we've all just had an unwritten rule that we're going to be very civil and we're going to encourage one another, new presenters and stuff like that. That's a really interesting conversation or, thought point that you bring up, because I often look at the extracurricular activities you do in high school and the accomplishments that you make, the paper, that's the brand that you build to be a good citizen that you want to show a college to go, hey, I'm going to be a participatory member. That's what I often talk to my kids about is, hey, when you get to college, it doesn't matter where you get the piece of paper from. I went to Western Carolina University, and no shade on that. Love Western Carolina, great school. But I worked for the White House. I worked for Microsoft, and nobody ever went, oh, well, that's not exactly MIT. Right. So once you start working and you get an experience, but my college relationships that I had helped me when I got my first job and helped me get my second job. By the time I got my third job at the White House, I was working off of what I had built as my professional brand from a technology standpoint. But as a student, that's a really interesting thought process, because I would say be careful not to start too early, because that internet footprint, it leaves a trail.
But even at the high school here, the business program that my daughter went through in high school, they actually walked her through in one of her classes, setting up a LinkedIn profile and how to update, put posts on there and stuff like that. So kid had, LinkedIn before she had a high school diploma.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, there's some eyes of that, at least in education too, to get them kind of prepared for that.
I would, and I don't know how y'all would reach this. Oh, go ahead, Neeraj.
No, I'm not just saying for a high school student having a LinkedIn profile. That's amazing. I mean,
yeah, that was actually in a graded assignment, if I remember correctly. If Erica's on YouTube and watching, she'll be quick. She is my kid, so she'll be quick to respond and go, "You're wrong, Dad." But I think it was an assignment.
okay.
LinkedIn, I almost look at as something else. That's a lot safer, LinkedIn, than I would say Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or other social media things that the kids would come and say, I want this on my phone. And I would go, no, well, we'll talk about it when you're 16.
And that's what makes it in my opinion, a good, safe place for students, for children to start building that brand, especially as they grow through college and professionally, is start it in a safe space before you're, until you're ready to throw on the Kevlar and go out into the wild of tweeters.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think that one could be a good one for a team building a brand. That might be one exception. Josh coming out of left field with some good ideas.
Hey,
I was going to say,
points.
Dropping some technical knowledge, man. 2023, it's the year of knowing what a manager does.
What?
Youth needed this guidance because both Neeraj and Bradley are correct. The digital trail will follow you through life. Yeah. And no lie, I think all of us who are adults who lived and had some fun, in our 20s or in college or at that point in time, all of us have gone, I thank God there was no social media around when I was a kid.
I mean, you and I, Brad, have had that conversation before. I'm glad there were no pictures. I mean, even when there was technology, I'm glad there's been a few failed uploads and tweet sends and stuff like that. So. Oh,
look, there were pictures and videotapes, but they were burned on a bonfire before I left college. All right. So back to the roundtable. I've got Cohen Vorbeck. Cohen has this wonderful article on extracting data from an AFAS REST endpoint with Azure Data Factory. And the thing that I love about this is if you've never actually extracted data from a REST API to be able to process with Data Factory and be able to bring into a database, or a data lake, wherever it is that you want to land and have that data reside. This is a wonderful article for walking through how you go through that REST API. If you have to get a key, how you get it, how you get the base URL, how you get that information and that authorization token. And these are all steps that you need to go through. And he detailed this with just amazing detail. He had a follow-up blog about this recently. And I just thought this was a great example. Josh, I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to say on this one.
No, actually. So when we were talking in the pre-show, I thought we had the same link because I have another one cached up for later use. I actually have another one I'll talk about that's on the Logic Apps too. So he goes back through the same process with Logic Apps.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I saw that blog links to this one. So this is great. Yep. So you're getting this first one by Cohen, and then we're going to get you another one that he's done that actually uses Logic Apps with the process, which is absolutely wonderful. Great
I love
Great.
logic apps. That's why I was like, I saw that one and I'm like, oh yeah, click. That one goes in the cache.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Next up, Andreas, you have how I built a streaming analytics app with SQL and Delta Live tables.
Oh man, if you guys want the Cadillac of demos when it comes to Delta Live tables, you have to build this. This is great. Thank you so much for putting this out there. Now, I've been working, I'm going to make you guys jealous. I've been doing a lot of, Delta Live tables over the last 2 weeks. So, jealous. I hope I'm making you jealous. What this demo shows you by Richard Tomlinson is what you need to do to make a production-ready pipeline, cascading pipeline that reads in data, lands it in raw, goes to bronze, then goes to silver, and then goes to gold. But it goes a little bit deeper than that, because there are things when it comes to Delta Live table, this is the hierarchy of what happens. You need a Python script, okay, or an SQL script. And inside that script, you will have a configuration file in order to read one or n number of columns and what types of the tables and the columns that are in there. Then you're going to loop through it, okay, because you want to make it dynamic. Then you're going to set up your tables. Then you're going to inject a little bit of autoloader. Then you're going to do some quality control, do some unit testing with expectations. Then you're going to start populating your table. Then you're going to go and optimize your compute, which now they have a cool feature called enhanced compute, which the compute will look and see if you're overutilizing or underutilizing. If you're underutilizing, it'll take one of the nodes out, and you don't have to do anything. And then the last thing you need to do is leverage change data capture. So all these little nooks and crannies and sort of gauges you have to twist inside of a Delta Live table. And he shows you how to do all of that so that it works. So you have a good, hearty sample that you can take forward with other scenarios that you may be using for ELT and Databricks. This is a Cadillac of demos when it comes to Delta Live tables. Get it into your repo.
That's
This looks
lot of good
fantastic.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the mention of change data capture. That's why I was on the camera there while you were describing it. And I went like this, bringing it back around. Loved it.
Very nice. Very nice. And last but certainly not least. Yep. Oh, and Dan, check out previous episodes to get roundtable suggestions for unit testing brought up by Andreas. Absolutely. Yep. We've added a lot of good stuff. And again, I went back and I made sure, because I wasn't putting them in the description, every single link for every single article is in the description to the video on YouTube. I also put it in the comments. So, and then we do a weekly blog wrap up where we've got those as well. So you've got 3 different places where you'll be able to go out and find those wonderful links we provided. So as I was saying, last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Josh Ludeman with one of my favorite people in the community, Jonathan Cahias. And I think this is the first time that Jonathan's blogs are making it onto the roundtable. And I'm so happy that he's made it here.
It is. And that's part of the reason why he's here, because I was like, okay, who have we not, I was trying to figure out who have we not featured yet that, there's got to be someone that we would collectively sit around and go, oh my gosh, what have we been doing? And of course, I come up with Jonathan Cahias here. And he has a great article on SQLskills.com on SQL Server 2022 and measuring extended events performance. So being able to go in there and actually understand what kind of performance hit you're taking from measuring your extended events and things like that. So a lot of good stuff in here. Great article. And Brad, I know it gets into the depth of the engine. I'm like, well, at least I can get Brad on board for this one, because this is internals to the core.
Well, and I love this because this gets into who watches the Watchmen, right? Because you're using these extended events. Find specifically the things that are occurring within your database engine. And this gives it to you. It gives it to you in spades, and it helps you understand what is that cost, because some of these things are a very low level of performance. They can sit in the background and they just they take very little space to be able to let you know. The other things are a little more complex because keep in mind, extended events, unlike a SQL trace and profiler, extended events actually occur when the event class gets fired within the stack of code itself for SQL Server. It's logging that event. And so you're adding a little bit of overhead to those events firing. Some of them are very low level, some of them are high level. But I love this because literally what this is about is Jonathan walks you through measuring the performance impacts of your extended events and how you would make sure that you're just not turning those on and leaving them, because some people make that mistake. They go, I want to turn on an extended event. I want to monitor, and I'm just going to leave it there forever. Yeah, Jonathan Kahaya says the master Yoda for me when it comes to extended event. I agree, Dan. Jonathan, way back in the day when extended events were first introduced, did an extended event a day for a month and just blogged about every single event, what it was used, how you could use it, and even came up with a demo for it.
Now, I'm not going to venture far enough out the pier, but isn't there some contention in the community about extended events versus what, DMVs?
Not really.
I mean, or profiler. Maybe that was it. Extended events versus profiler and things like that. A point of
it's not that it's a contention, right? It's that extended events are actually part of the stack code. They're going to give you more information. They are the new pathway forward. SQL profiler has been deprecated, but it's never been retired. As a matter of fact, SQL Trace, core part of the engine, SQL Trace is still running, is still active, and so. It's really, you could have some old school DBAs who just don't know any better, who are like, oh, profiler for everything. Profiler casts a net while you're fishing. Extended events is a sniper rifle scope where I could go, I want say we had really high CPU on a database running. I could say, give me every single query that runs with a high CPU for more than 100 milliseconds. So if I'm getting my CPU paid, instead of going, give me everything and let me look for what happened over that period of time, like I can with profiler, extended events, I can say only fire if this condition occurs, and then give me this information to be able to trace this event. So it's really just understanding, one is a net, the other is a scalpel, and extended events are just superior in that way. But all right, a lot of good stuff, a lot of good conversation about it. Thank you for so many comments, everyone. I think it's time for us to go ahead and wrap things up. So,
is it time for the wrap up?
It's time for the wrap up. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now I can play Andreas's airphone.
And we're going to play the same.
All right.
That is that.
Don't forget, in the 1 week ago today, we dropped Synapse Analytics Pattern in a Box 1 with Andreas and Neeraj. Go check that out. It's a lot of people are going and looking at it. It's fantastic. It will help you deploy in Bicep your Azure Synapse Analytics solution. Yesterday, Wednesday, we dropped how to make your Azure SQL Managed Instance general purpose faster. And I use HammerDB, and I basically show you two simple things that we can do. And I take us from, I think we start off around 4,000 transactions per minute, and I end us up around 164,000 transactions per minute. So we get a pretty good jump just by doing those two little things. You want to go check those out. Oh yeah, please. Yeah. Tuesday is our hosting show. Make sure and join us for that. We will be at SQL Bits. I'm going to be there. Remember, SQL Bits is a hybrid event. Before you know it, I'm going to be in Wales. Next week is the last week before we go. And then SQL Saturday, Jacksonville. We have a pre-con. Myself, Dan Taylor, Neeraj Jhaveri. We're doing DBA fundamentals. Andreas may make an appearance. He may be up there. And we're going to be talking about a full day of DBA fundamentals 101 stuff. You want to join us? And then Andreas, we have some FTA lives coming up, right?
Yes. Monday I'm doing an MLOps end to end. An hour and a half of where to get started, how to take a model, how to retrain it, how to monitor it, make sure you don't have any data drift. Please, I think it's going to be a good show. But do me a favor, Bradley, please come back from the UK. Just come back. Promise me you'll come back.
Absolutely. Trust me. I'm looking forward to going, but I'm looking forward to coming home. It'll be a good time. All right. Well, I think that's everything, right, guys?
I hope so.
I hope so.
All right. Take care, everybody. Be good to one another. Have a great weekend. See you.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. Today's gonna be a good day.